and this is a consensus. This wasn't someone's list. This is coming together and making this happen, which means you might not be happy with some of these players and where they're at. There is one topic that I want to start with here because I've been dying. I have been just patiently waiting for this man down here, this guy, Aaron the Muxiah Mukes, to talk to us about Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. You behind closed doors, I don't want to say behind closed doors, off the screen, you have been talking to us about how you're not crazy about these two. And Garrett Wilson's the number one wide receiver.
Well, just stop.
Stop.
You're already making stuff up. First of all, I said Garrett Wilson is legit. It's about Chris Olave. And they just happen to play on the same team. And I'm going to be bringing up some stuff about Ohio State. So, yes, you're right. I know what you want to get to. You want to get to the topic of Ohio State. And I'm going to say it. Ohio State wide receivers. I'm not a fan. Now, don't get me wrong. Like every other school, have they had guys come out and be successful? Absolutely. Most recently, Terry McLaurin, Michael Thomas. You can point directly to those two guys and say, hey, they've had some success at the wide receiver position. But since 1990, and these are numbers, these are just not pure numbers. Since 1990, Ohio State has had 6 first-round receivers drafted. Ted Ginn, Anthony Gonzalez, Santonio Holmes, Michael Jenkins, David Boston, Terry Glenn, and Joey Galloway. None of their NFL careers were first-round pick worthy. The closest being Santonio Holmes, a Super Bowl MVP. I would give you that one if you wanted to argue it. But the problem is the Ohio State receivers, time and time again in these middle rounds, second, third, fourth rounds, come into the NFL and they just bust. And most of them have the same exact body type as Chris Olave. He's not big. He's a down the field guy, but he cannot get off of coverage. He can't play physical. He reminds me exactly of one name, and he was drafted in the second round, and you should know him, Vinny, because you're a Jets guy. Devin Smith. Smith out of Ohio State a few years back was supposed to be this gem, and he's a second round pick. He, to me, is what Chris Olave is going to be. I just don't believe in him. I don't believe in his physical abilities to get in and out of breaks, in and out of routes. He has some speed to be a game changer, like a Ted Ginn type, similar body frame to Ted Ginn. But for a first round grade that most people have him as, I just think it's too much. I think if you're drafting Chris Olave in the second and third round, that's a different conversation. We're talking about Chris Olave going in the top 15 picks. This has Jalen Reagor bust all over it. That's what I feel like. I do not want to group Chris Olave with Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson is the most ready to come into him and Jahan Dotson, the most ready to come into the NFL and make an impact right away. He is the best combination of what you need as a receiver. The difference is Chris Olave, something is missing. There is something missing with this guy. He has breakaway speed, down the field threat. I just look at him and I see Devin Smith, Ted Ginn all over again. Even Joey Galloway, right? These are guys that they played that style in Ohio State, but they never really translated to the NFL. And that's what I see from him. I don't know how else to explain it.
What do you say about, okay, so you bring up the history of the Ohio State wide receivers, but as of late, there have been some very good wide receivers come out of the school. I mean, Terry McLaurin is a tier 2 wide receiver in the league. You got Michael Thomas.
Look where they were drafted. That's my point.
That's fair. That's fair. But
these guys were not first round picks.
Doesn't that make it change a little bit? Aren't we now seeing, okay, like these wide receivers from Ohio State, they can be those, that dude. And from what I've seen from Chris Olave, he has been a guy that I thought has been. I texted you before we did this. I was like, I might change my list after doing even more research on these guys. Chris Olave is a special talent, in my opinion. He's one of the best route runners in this draft class. He's arguably one of the best Ohio State wide receivers of all time, breaking records there for touchdowns, and he was special at Ohio State. To me, he is able to do the things you want in an NFL wide receiver. And I get what you're saying, where if you're drafting him in the top 15, maybe not. but he is definitely a first-round wide receiver, in my opinion, just because of the things he can do. He is the most complete wide receiver, in my opinion, next to Garrett Wilson.
No way. No way.
Yeah.
No
Most
way.
complete.
He can't win enough on the outside. He doesn't have enough size.
When you look at everything,
No way.
he is the most complete wide receiver in this draft class.
No way. I don't know where you're coming with that.
You had me all the way up into the most complete because that's too far. You are correct.
He
is
has
probably
it all.
the best.
He
No,
has
he
it
does
all.
not.
I mean, he does not. He doesn't have it all.
He does not play physical enough to have it all. He's more than likely going to be stuck in the slot in the NFL because he's not big enough to win on the outside, especially against press man coverage. He's going to have to go to a system where they can scheme him up to get the ball correctly until he can blossom into somebody who can be a top number one receiver. Chris Olave is great. I'm higher on him than Aaron. I don't think I'm as high as I am as you are on him.
Paris Campbell, Chris Olave, same player, except Paris Campbell's been injured, like in the NFL. They're the same thing. All these guys from Ohio State are the same thing. You look at the guys that have been special. Michael Thomas is a little bit of a different build there. He's not that fast guy. He's more of a possession guy. Terry McLaurin is the one guy that looks like Chris Olave that turned out to be, like, obviously really, really good. And he was a third-round pick. Same body type, same skill set, similar skill set, except the difference is he has way better hands than Chris Olave.
So let's see where you have Chris Olave on your list. You have him at number 9.
Yep.
Number 9.
Let's be fair here. Let's be fair. I'm grading this on like if all these guys reached their maximum potential. I have him at number 9. I'm going to go on record right now. I'm doing my mock in a few weeks. There will be 7 wide receivers taken in the first round. So saying Chris Olave is 9, I still have him in the second round as a second round pick. I don't think that's a slight to him. I just think there's other guys with better attributes and more skills than what he's going to bring at the NFL level. And if he goes to a place like the Dallas, I hope I'm wrong. But I don't want him.
I would hope that you would end up changing your tone for that. AJ, you're high on. You say you're a little bit higher on Chris Olave. Where do you have Garrett Wilson, and what are your thoughts on it? So, Aaron, are you okay on Garrett Wilson being because our consensus has him as the number 1 wide receiver? You look at AJ, you have him very high, right?
I do have him very high. He's one of my favorite receivers in this draft for multiple reasons.
He's the consensus, I think, number 1 receiver that's going to be taken. If you looked, on my list, he's number 2. But again, I'm taking everything perfect in a perfect world potential for these guys. Where are they at? That's how I did my list.
With Garrett Wilson and some of the other guys that we're going to talk about in this top 3, you can almost 1A, 1B, 1C them. They just have these different traits about them that make them slightly different. One of my favorite things about Garrett Wilson is the fact that he practices being a pro right now. Every catch you see him make in the end zone, you will not. I have not seen him one time put one foot down. It has been 2 toes, 3 toes, 4 toes. He makes the breaks he needs to at the right times. There's issues he has when he's running routes in the open field, but when it's time, when you have to make that route and it has to be precise, he's doing it. He's doing it. He's going to be one of the best receivers. He is probably the most NFL-ready receiver to go from this draft. And you can say what you will about a Drake London and some of the other guys. They still have a couple things to watch out. And I'm not saying Wilson doesn't, but to me, Wilson comes in day 1 as an impact player.
Yeah, skill-wise, he's definitely the best. But to me, speed, hands, route running ability, just IQ of the game, body movement, fluid. He is ready to go and be the number 1 receiver on a team, to me, day 1. And I think that's hard to do in the NFL.